Did you see what USC did? Oh, look, USC that had a massive weakness last year. I was watching Josh Pate's show the other day, and he put up a graphic of USC's defensive numbers. They were horrific, abominable, disastrous, catastrophic. They were as bad as you could possibly be. Look how many times they allowed 40 points last year. That was a mess. Can you fix it all in 1 year? Maybe not. Can you fix a good chunk of it in 1 year? Yeah, I think you can. I think you can, and USC is doing just that. So they've added Greedy Vance from the transfer portal from Florida State. This was one of the most highly coveted defensive backs that the portal had to offer, and USC picked him up. Trojan fans, forget about what could have been if Alex Grinch had never come to Los Angeles. Forget about it. Focus on the here and now. I think USC should feel really, really good about what they're building on that side of the ball. And it'll come down to whether Miller Moss is actually able to replicate what he did in the Holiday Bowl, over 400 yards and 6 touchdowns. If he is that sort of guy, not necessarily every week, and USC's defense is just competent, yeah, this is the easiest over bet on FanDuel, which is 7.5 right now. I'd take that over. But Greedy Vance, big addition. Here's what USC is getting.
Florida State is losing Greedy Vance to the transfer portal. The 5'11" and 170-pound nickelback is going to be missed in Tallahassee. So what's the next team that gets Greedy going to get? First off, this is a player that can play nickel, arguably the most difficult position on a defense to play because he's physical enough to go against bigger receivers and tight ends, and he's still talented enough to deflect passes and get interceptions. Last season, Vance only gave up 40.7% of the passes thrown at him to be completed. So he's going to be a graduate player at the next school, and he's going to bring a lot of value because of his experience and his overall skill.
So that's a guy who steps in, starts right away, produces right away. And might I remind you what USC has done in the transfer portal this offseason? They brought over John Humphrey from UCLA. He could definitely start. Kamari Ramsey, the safety, I'd be shocked if Kamari Ramsey, who followed their new defensive coordinator, D'Anton Lynn, from one side of Los Angeles to the other side of Los Angeles, that guy's probably going to start. They bring in Achille Arnold from Oregon State. They bring in Easton Mascarenas-Arnold, the linebacker from Oregon State. Those are starting caliber players. Those are plus players on that side of the ball. USC has made another move that makes me look at that side of the ball that was so bad a year ago and think to myself, they're better. They're better. They are. And if USC's defense is better than last year, sure, they've had some notable departures. Former 5-star and I think #1 overall edge recruit Corey Foreman, his career didn't really work out the way they were hoping. He's off to Fresno State now to play in the Mountain West. Tackett Curtis, linebacker transfer, pretty good player. He transferred to Wisconsin. Those are notable losses. Not so much on the Foreman front, as I mentioned, because he wound up at Fresno State. No disrespect to the Bulldogs. But if Foreman were someone who was making a big impact, he wouldn't have had to take a step down in competition where he'll probably produce and be a solid player for Fresno State and Jeff Tedford this year. But I digress. These are the moves that USC needed to make this offseason. And if Miller Moss is that guy at quarterback, they've got players on the defensive side of the ball. They've got guys that are going to be better than what they had last year. That is my prediction. Hot take, but Lincoln Riley's the head coach. But USC is going to have a better defense than they had last year. Does it mean they can get to the Big Ten championship? No. They're my favorite dark horse pick in the Big Ten to get there. Their odds to win it are plus 2,300. I didn't think they would be that long of odds behind Oregon, Ohio State, and Michigan and Penn State up there in the top 4. But I'm just saying, that's another move. USC checking a box like, oh, yep, that guy's good. Right there. All right, continuing to rotate around in the transfer portal. Speaking of portal landings, Dallan Hayden has committed to Colorado. But I thought the Buffs were in chaos. I thought it was all a disaster. Yada, 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 as they say on Seinfeld, one of my favorite sitcoms of all time. I also, just a quick side note, finished How I Met Your Mother for the first time. What a disastrous ending. Good show. Disastrous ending. Just horrible. Anyway, I digress again, as I often do. Dallan Hayden has committed to Colorado, and with Wilkerson off to Oregon State and Alton McCaskill transferring out of the program as well, Dallan Hayden's going to be the number one running back. I'd be really surprised if he's not the number one running back for Shedeur Sanders and company. And this is just a really good fit because you have a guy that wasn't going to play at Ohio State this year, but was talented enough to play. You look at what he has put on film in his college career, dude looks like the 4-star running back he was coming out of high school. I think he steps in, and with Shedeur Sanders in the backfield and the playmakers they have on the perimeter, that's a potent offense. That is a legitimately potent offense. You give them just an average offensive line, they're going to score a bunch of points. They are going to score a bunch of points as they did a year ago. And certainly their defense has to be better. And I think it can be. They've got a new defensive staff in there. Robert Livingston is the defensive coordinator, but I really like this move. I like this fit on both sides. You get a guy who is hungry and prepared and physically ready, as in weight room, body type, and game shape, all that sort of stuff, health-wise. Dallan Hayden is ready to step in and be RB1 and have that opportunity. And Colorado needs somebody like that. They need someone who can slide in and give them immediate production. And I think that Hayden and Colorado are a really, really good fit. And I think with Sanders in the backfield right next to him, taking the snaps from whoever they're going to have snapping the ball to him, I think that's a good spot to be. I think that is a good spot to be. Weapons-wise, Colorado, again, no problem, no issues. It'll come down to the trenches and the defense as well. But I like that move quite a bit. Here's another transfer portal name you just got to be aware of. This guy, you talk about crazy stats. I mean crazy, crazy stats. So Chris Hardie played for Jacksonville State this past year. Jacksonville State, they're not in Florida, they're in Alabama. They were playing in Conference USA their first year at the FBS level. They jumped up from the FCS ranks, and for some teams like James Madison, it goes very well. For other teams like Sam Houston, it doesn't go quite as well. For Jacksonville State, it went well. They won 8 or 9 games this past season. Hardie was a big part of it. I'm not joking here when I read you these numbers. A season ago, he recorded 8.5 sacks and 16 tackles for loss. Now, the NCAA is weird and count tackles for loss or sacks as a tackle for loss. That's still 8.5 times he took the quarterback down behind the line of scrimmage, and 7.5 other times he took any other player or ball carrier down behind the line of scrimmage. This dude can play. He's in the transfer portal and instantly becomes, I think, one of the most highly coveted defensive line transfers. Have not seen where he's heard from yet. I'm just telling you, that guy's going to come out of the transfer portal, and when you have put up numbers like that at an FBS school, even if you're in Conference USA, which isn't as strong even as it used to be because schools have relocated in realignment to the American Conference, I tell you what, that's a season that's not going to be ignored. No one's going to look at that guy and go, well, he's playing conference. Yeah. No, 16 TFLs, 8.5 sacks. You don't overlook that sort of stuff. That guy can play. Does not mean he puts up those sorts of numbers when he gets to a Power 5 school, but he'll have the chance to show what he can do at a Power 5 school. Chris Hardie from Jacksonville State. Remember that name. He's going to pop out of the transfer portal at some point, and it's going to be at a big-time program, and he's going to make an impact in 2024. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day.